Hi everyone, welcome to BODHI. My name is Alex Nashton and this is Chris Yates. Today we're going to be moving through a 45-minute long restore and rebuild class, which is another way of saying a 45-minute long yin and yoga nidra class. So today you're going to want to make sure that you have enough stuff around you to get very, very cozy. We have a blanket here as well as a bolster. Alternatively, a pillow works really well. You might want to have 2 of those nearby for the nidra portion of this class. And then 2 blocks are usually a good place. 2 blocks are a good place. 2 blocks are a good place. This is going to be a really great class today. I'm going to articulate everything that I'm saying very, very well. And you're going to want to have 2 blocks to support you throughout the class, which is happening here in this place on this mat right now. We're doing it. Okay, on that note, come to sit. I usually sit up on a block or on a bolster just because when we can let our hips rest higher than the level of the knees, it enables the spine to kind of move into a position that the natural arches and curves are accentuated. Chris has a really hard time accentuating the curves of his spine, so he needs all of his props to find that tilt in his pelvis forward. But you might not. You'll probably just need like maybe 1 block or maybe 1 pillow. And then you'll bring your hands to your thighs and close your eyes. With your eyes closed, let all of the tiny little muscles surrounding your eyes soften. Unlock your jaw, make some space between your top and bottom teeth. Let the roof of your mouth float upward the same way it does when you fall asleep at night. And notice how you're breathing in and how you're breathing out. If you find yourself breathing in and out primarily through your mouth, see if you can change that. If you can direct the flow of your breath more in and out of your nose. And that shift of breathing primarily through the nose enables us to move into more of a relaxation response. It enables us to activate the parasympathetic nervous system just a little bit more. And that parasympathetic nervous system response is also activated by us lengthening each exhale. So see if you can coax each breath out a little bit longer and a little bit longer here. And I'll give you just a little more time here in quiet. Try to stay with it. Try to keep yourself mentally engaged. And then you can slowly release your chin down to your chest. Let the back of your neck lengthen. You'll blink your eyes open and slide yourself forward onto all 4s. You'll slide your props out of the way, and if your name is Christopher Yates, it might take you a while to do that because you've used every prop that you have. And then from here, we're gonna move into a child's pose. So you have some options for this child's pose. You can keep your knees either really close towards each other, or you can take them a little bit further apart. Either way, the tops of your feet are gonna be down on the ground, your big toes are gonna be touching. You're gonna draw your hips back towards your heels, and note that that doesn't necessarily mean that they will get all the way down to the heels, but from there you'll walk your fingertips out in front of you. And you'll let your upper body relax down over your thighs. You'll let your forehead rest on something, whether that's the ground or whether that is a block. Elbows hang heavy. And you'll notice that the spine begins to kind of ever so slightly curve and round here. And with that, you'll bring your awareness back to your breath and notice how it's shifted. If you found here that you're breathing primarily in and out of your mouth once again, can you change it back to your nose? Just breathing in and out of your nostrils. Can you coax each exhale longer than the inhale that precedes it? And then in your own time, you'll slowly make your way up onto all fours. And from all fours, you're gonna step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. And you'll make sure that all 5 toes of the right foot are facing directly forward. Now, many of us in this shape tend to let the right toes kind of turn out to the right, so they're at about a 45-degree angle, and we'll get to that in a second. But for now, make sure that your right toes are truly facing forward, that your knee is tracking in the same direction as your toes. And if you're finding this tendency to let your knee knock in, I want you to think about pressing your right knee over towards the right just a little bit more. Now, with that kind of angling in your front leg and your right leg, you're gonna tuck your left toes under and lift your left knee up. You'll slide the ball of your left foot a little further back behind you, so you're lengthening out your stance. And then you'll drop your left knee down again, and you'll untuck your toes. If there's any sensitivity in your left knee being down on the ground in this shape, you can slide a pillow or a blanket underneath your left knee. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to keep it down on the ground. And then hands can either stay on the ground. I usually like to take them up onto blocks here, so that is my preference in this particular position. I like the blocks because it enables me to make a little more space across the front of my chest here. Many of us have a tendency to let the upper back curve in this position, and that's not necessarily our goal. Our goal here is to really open into the crease of the right hip and the top of the left thigh. So make sure that there's space across the front of the chest. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put a back bend into the upper back. It just means that there shouldn't be any curving or collapsing in the uppermost part of your body. Now, for those of you that are newer to a yin style practice, we move pretty slowly. We hold each pose for a pretty long amount of time compared to what we normally do. And we also practice yin when we're cold, so we don't really get the body super, super warm in this kind of practice, in this style of practice. And that enables us to kind of move into the joint space of the body as opposed to just opening through the muscle. It also means that because you're spending so long in every single pose, that you are really confronted by the intensity of each shape. You might really notice here this impulse to kind of move or fidget around, to wiggle, to get out of it. But my encouragement for you through whatever experience that you might be having is to try to stay with it, to try to stay with yourself. To make sure that you're still breathing and that your breath is still going in and out of primarily your nose. Okay, we're gonna take another breath in here and another breath out. And now you're gonna very intentionally take your right side toes and turn them out at about a 45-degree angle. Good, and you'll let your knee move in the same direction as your toes. And then you might even start to let the right knee kind of fall over towards the right. So now you begin to stretch and open the right side groin just a little bit more. Again, we want to make sure that we're breathing the entire time here. That you haven't stopped it, that you haven't let it start going in and out of your mouth instead. And this is all in an effort to help us move into a more relaxed state, into a more easeful state. So think shoulders down your back, away from your ears. Good. And Chris, you can walk your right toes out to the right just a little bit more. Yeah, and then think a little further forward. So you're moving forward and wider. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So from here, you can go ahead and start to shimmy your right foot back in again. And then we're going to switch sides. So right knee comes back to meet the left knee. You can slide your pillow, slide your blanket to the other side, and then left foot is going to step up to the outside of the left hand. You're going to tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee up for a moment, and then slide the ball of your right foot a little further back so you're lengthening out your stance. Right knee comes down again. You untuck your toes. Nice. And now you're letting the pelvis drop forward and down, keeping space across the front plane of the body. And that doesn't need to be like a huge back bend here, but instead it's just enough space in the front body that you're not rounding and collapsed down. You're still breathing. And Chris, your chin can come in ever so slightly towards your throat. So rather than craning your neck to look forward, you keep balance between the front and back planes of the neck. Now we're going to stay here for approximately 15 more minutes. That was a joke. Chris thinks I'm hilarious. You can't hear him laughing, but he's laughing right now. All right, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back now. You can turn your left toes ever so slightly out to the left at about a 45-degree angle. You can also optionally take your foot out just a little bit wider, maybe a little further forward. Most of us need to do that so we don't cross the knee too far over the ankle in this particular shape. And then the pelvis drops forward and down, and maybe here you let your left knee kind of fall out to the left side so you're finding a little bit more of a stretch through that groin. Now make sure your shoulders have not crept up by your ears again, but instead the shoulders stay pulled down the back. Chin comes in ever so slightly towards your throat. Maybe not that much. There we go. So once again, there's balance. And we'll stay here for a while now. And I'll just creepily look around at you guys there in the camera and then look back at Chris to fill the quiet. Yep, this is yin. Okay, and then you can slowly start to kind of ease yourself out of this one. So you'll shimmy your left foot back. You'll let it meet the right knee, and then you'll slide your pillow, you'll slide your blanket, you'll slide your bolster out of the way. Once again, you are back on all fours. And for a second, you can just kind of circle your hips over your knees. So you're kind of taking your hips in a slightly different direction than the one that they were just in. Nice. So from here, you'll set your blocks aside. You'll take the palms of your hands back down to the ground, walk your hands a little further forward in front of your shoulders, tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back. And then you're gonna walk your hands back towards your feet here. So coming into a fold at the back of the mat. Once you get there, you're gonna widen your stance just a little bit more than you normally would. Yeah, good. So it doesn't necessarily need to be feet as far apart as the edges of the mat, but we definitely don't want them in our hip distance apart. That's just a little too uncomfortable for most of us. You're gonna ever so slightly turn your right toes to the right and your left toes to the left, so they're coming out at about a 45-degree angle. And then you'll take a deep bend in your knees, and you can either A, rest your forearms on your thighs and come into a little camper pose here. Option B, you can drop your hips all the way down towards that space between your shin bones. Take your elbows to your inner knees, hands come to a prayer at the center of your chest, and you try to push your knees apart with your elbows. So coming into more of a squat pose. Chris looks like he's in so much pain right now. He's making the saddest, scariest, most pathetic face. If you are having a really hard time in this one, if your heels are lifted up off of the ground, you can optionally slide a block underneath your seat. Chris is going to demonstrate that for you. Yep. So you'd sit all the way down on the block. Yeah, good. And then because it's a yin practice and because we're going to be holding this a bit longer than we normally would, I'm going to invite you guys to interlace the palms of your hands, interlace your fingers out in front of you, and then you're going to let your forehead rest down into the palms of your hands. So now you're giving your spine permission to round here. You're giving the weight of your head and neck the opportunity to really relax. So let your tailbone kind of get heavy here. You don't have to worry about lengthening your spine. You just give it permission to get curvy. And we'll take a few more breaths in this shape. And then you can go ahead and release your fingertips down to the ground. Lift your butt up, fold forward again. Turn your toes back in so your feet are back in an anatomical neutral, and you can heel toe your feet in a little bit closer and a little bit closer towards each other. Put a bend into your knees and then walk your hands forward, and we'll come into a downward facing dog. So the body's making a big triangular shape here. If there is any rounding in your back body, like Chris is demonstrating right now, you'll put a bend into your knees. And with that bending your knees, think about using the pressure of the palms of your hands down on the ground to elevate your hips, to stick your butt up even higher towards the sky. Take another breath in here. And then exhale, release your knees down. Sit your hips over to one side and then swing your legs around in front of you. From here, you might need to scoot yourself a little further forward on the mat. You're going to bring the soles of your feet to touch and let your knees come apart. And rather than having the heels in so close towards your groin, you're actually going to slide your feet a little further away from your body, so there's more of a diamond shape in the legs. Exactly. Now, if there's any rounding in the lowest part of your back here, which Chris is going to demonstrate right now, then I want you to think about elevating your seat either up onto a bolster, onto a pillow, or maybe even up onto a rolled up blanket, just enough that you can find a little tilt in your pelvis forward, just enough that you can take the rounding out of the lowest part of your back and put a little more arch in its place. And now with that arch, you're going to lift up higher through the crown of your head. Breathe in and make sure that you have your block somewhere nearby. As you exhale, you're going to walk your fingertips out in front of you, keeping the length in your spine for as long as you possibly can. When you can't maintain the length anymore, you're going to let everything in your upper body round and relax down. So you let your head be heavy, you let the back of your neck lengthen, and you're going to use the support of either one or maybe even two blocks stacked on top of each other underneath your forehead. And now this is going to allow the back body to round and relax. And so you'll probably be feeling some sort of sensation in your hips, in your hip flexors, your psoas, your sacrum, maybe a width or a sense of opening. Ideally here, we want to give the weight of the body fully and completely to gravity. So no part of us is holding on, no part of us is trying to exert control. But instead, we let everything release down towards the floor. So can you notice here with every breath out, your exhale is getting longer and longer and longer. Pulling the weight of your upper body heavier and heavier, enabling your upper body to relax down towards the floor. And I'll give you guys some time here in quiet for this pose. You might notice as you stay longer the impulse to move, to fidget, to wiggle, to get out of it. But through all of those impulses, can you choose to stay? And now you'll stay as you are, but begin to deepen your breath. Find some pressure down through just the palms of your hands and let that initiate you rolling yourself back up to sit. And once you're upright, you can set your blocks aside. You'll take your hands to the outer edges of your knees and draw your knees up until the soles of your feet find the ground. From there, you can go ahead and walk the feet a little further out in front of you. Slide yourself even further forward on your mat. And then you'll slowly lie yourself down onto your back. Okay, one last pose before we get into the nidra. You're gonna bring your knees up towards your chest and then take them out a bit wider towards your armpits. You're gonna grab onto either the backs of your knees here, your ankles, or maybe the pinky toe sides of your feet for a happy baby pose. Your knees come down in the direction of your armpits and you're working to get your ankles up so your legs come into a 90-degree bend, which means ankles over the knees. Pinky toe sides of the feet are drawn down towards your face so your feet are not sickling here. And then you make sure your shoulders are plugged into their sockets, that they're not rolling up off of the floor. And then maybe you kind of rock yourself from side to side here. Maybe extending one leg at a time. And then eventually you're gonna let your legs relax out in front of you. And if you have any stiffness or anything going on in your lower back, you're going to want to slide a pillow or a rolled up blanket underneath your knees. You'll slide another pillow underneath your head, and then finally you'll cover yourself with a blanket. We cover ourselves for a yoga nidra practice because we know that our bodies lose heat as we begin to unwind and relax. So even if you're feeling a little warm from the practice, you're going to want to cover yourself up. And then you have some options for how exactly you land here. You can either let the palms of your hands face up beside you, or you can optionally bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your chest. And in that shape, you'll let the weight of your body surrender to gravity, so you're not trying to hold yourself up in any particular position. You let your shoulders soften, any tension in the muscles of your face dissipate. If you are brand new to a yoga nidra practice, nidra is the Sanskrit word for sleep. So in this practice, we teach our bodies how to sleep while our minds stay alert and focused. So in this shape, in this position, you're going to set the intention to remain awake. And know that you might actually fall asleep, and if you do, it's probably just what your body needs right now, and that's okay. But do your best to keep that thread of awareness, to keep that thread of intention woven through the entirety of your practice. You'll start by listening to the sounds you hear externally. And that might be the sounds of a car or some cars driving by outside, someone skateboarding down your street, maybe the sound of a neighbor kind of moving around in their home or their apartment, or even just the quiet hum of your refrigerator, your air conditioning or your heating system. You'll notice that the mind has a tendency to fixate on one sound in particular, but I'm going to ask that for the purposes of this practice, you keep your attention moving from sound to sound, that you never linger for too long on one sound in particular. And then you'll turn your attention to the sounds you hear internally. So you'll listen for the sound of a breath in and the sound of a breath out. You listen for the sound of your heartbeat. Maybe the sound of ringing in your ears, the sound of digestion. Noticing any internal sounds. And from here, we'll deepen into the practice by moving through a rotation of consciousness. I'll call out different parts of the body, and you don't need to move these parts or change them. Just notice what you feel. in every part that I call out. You'll start by bringing your attention down into your right hand and noticing what exactly you feel there. You'll feel your right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. Feel the palm of your right hand, the back of your right hand, right wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm. Feel your right shoulder, right armpit, right side rib cage, right side waist. Feel your right hip, right thigh, knee, shin. Feel your right ankle, the heel of your right foot, sole of your right foot, top of your right foot, and all 5 toes of your right foot. Now shift your attention over to your left side body. Distill your attention down into your left hand. And feel your left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. Feel the palm of your left hand, back of your left hand. Move your awareness through your wrist. Feel your forearm, elbow, and upper arm. Move your awareness through your left shoulder. And feel your left armpit, your left side rib cage, and your left side waist. Feel the left side of your pelvis, left thigh, knee, shin, ankle, heel of your left foot, sole of your left foot, top of your left foot, and all 5 toes of your left foot. Feel all 5 toes of your left foot. Now draw your awareness down into the back of your body and feel the soles of both of your feet simultaneously. Feel both of your heels together. The backs of your calves, the backs of your knees, backs of your thighs, back of your pelvis. Feel your lower back, middle back, and upper back. Draw your awareness through the back of your neck. Feel the back of your head, the crown of your head, right side of your head, left side of your head, your forehead, draw your awareness through both of your eyebrows, through the space between both eyebrows, both eyelids, both eyes, both cheeks, both nostrils. Feel both of your ears, your jaw and your tongue, the inside of your mouth, your throat and your neck. Feel the movement of breath in your chest. Feel the movement of breath in your belly. And in this place, begin to count each exhale backwards, starting with the number 11. So you'll inhale and exhale 11. Inhale, exhale 10. With every breath out, imagine yourself getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Let go of your count wherever you are and become more aware of the ease you feel in your body, the slowness, the relaxation. And staying with that feeling of peacefulness, you'll begin to invite some movements back into your body, maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes, maybe circling out your head and neck. Slowly starting to wake yourself back up again. In your own time, you'll gather your knees into your chest. And you'll roll over onto whichever side you'd like. Press down through one hand at a time and begin to ease yourself back up to sit. And go ahead and bring the palms of your hands to touch at the center of your chest. Release your chin down. Namaste.